Hey guys, it's Jay McNeil, home in my kitchen this week for the blog, and this week we're going to talk about food. I've gotten a lot of questions about how my diet has changed, what I was eating before surgery versus what I'm able to eat now, and it's been a very dramatic change. So I want to walk you through kind of where I've been since surgery. Starting this week, which is just over 2 weeks out of surgery, so moving into the third week, it's all soft food. So that means basically I can eat regular food, but only things that I can basically overcook, like vegetables, for example. If you make them so they're on the verge of being mush but still hold their shape, I'm able to eat that. I'm able to introduce things like soft meat, again, without completely pureeing. It's still very tiny bites. That'll always be the case. But slowly we're getting there until next Wednesday, which is, you know, only 5 days away, really. I get to introduce solid food again. So I'll be eating the same stuff that you do. I'll just be eating a much smaller portion, and we're going to talk about that as well. I'll show you some of the stuff that I've been eating. So I've noticed some things that I think translate, whether you have the lap band or not. I think there are some things to do with food that have really been eye-opening moments for me, and that's what I want to talk about in the video this week. The first thing is the importance of 3 meals a day, and I know we've all been beaten with this, especially, you know, breakfast being the most important meal of the day. That never seemed practical to me before. For 4 years, my alarm's been going off at 3:45 a.m., you know, and I'm walking through the door at work to do the morning show at 6. I don't like to eat something heavy before I go on air. You know, it causes all kinds of problems when you're trying to read a 5-minute newscast. So I really never ate a big breakfast. So what that usually meant was hitting up a drive-through maybe 2 to 3 times a week on the way to work, making some really bad choices, getting some stuff that really isn't entirely healthy, things that really, now that I look back, had calorie counts that were almost an entire day's worth of what I eat now. So now I get the importance of breakfast, and if that's meant getting up earlier and changing my routine, then it's been worth it, but I'm doing it. So now every morning I start out with something. I have maple cinnamon oatmeal that I'm able to start eating this week, and this week has been the reintroduction of eggs as well. And I've fallen in love with this stuff. It's Egg Creations. There's a no-name version of it as well, but all of it is egg whites that are then you know, flavored. This one happens to be turned yellow. This is the southwestern one. It's got pieces of red pepper and green pepper in it. But honestly, for a week I was making those at home. You can do the exact same thing, and in the morning, when I really don't want to get up any earlier than I have to, this little thing comes in handy. This is the little omelet maker for the microwave. So you open this up, or you use the ones that are pure white, you pour them in, you pop it in the microwave for a minute, and I've got a breakfast. It's only like 60 calories. It's got lots of protein in there, and I'm on what we call a protein-first diet right now. I'm going to talk about that a little later on. But 3 meals a day means more than just breakfast, and I had a horrible, horrible track record with this. My problem rarely was consistently overeating. I wasn't a guy who got up every day, made a huge breakfast, and then went out for lunch every day, and then came home and ate a huge supper. I was almost the reverse. I would generally skip breakfast, go in to work, do the show, get through my workday. My workday should end around noon, but, you know, sometimes it's, you know, 1, 2, 2:30 before I get out of there. You know, a couple of times a week I would probably hit a drive-through and grab something on the way home, but just as often I wouldn't eat anything at all, and then I'd come home. And once I got home, I would either take a nap if I wanted to stay up past 8 o'clock that night, or I'd, you know, plop down in front of the TV and just be kind of exhausted with no energy because I'd been up for 10 hours and had absolutely nothing in me. So that wasn't very healthy. So then by the time supper did come, whatever I had put together, I would just eat way too much of. You know, stuffed chicken breast, but I'd eat 2 of them. I'd eat 2 of them and 2 baked potatoes. So I wasn't drastically overeating at every meal, and I certainly wasn't eating out at every meal. I was eating out way too much. But my major problem was just an inconsistency. It was that I was starving myself all day, and then by the time I gave my body some food, I wanted to hold on to it because it really didn't know when it was going to get its food again. So it's been just as important to me to introduce a lunch, and if that's meant taking a lunch, which it has for me, because I'm on such a particular diet and will be for a very long time to come, I can't just grab something. It needs to be thought out, it needs to be prepared, and then I take it with me, and I've done that at work this week, and that's been a first for me. I really never brown bagged it before. That's not something I did. not only is it saving me money, it's giving me a solid break in the day. It's forcing me to manage my time a little bit better because I know that I have something to do at that point in the day. And then supper time, really making that consistent, having it around the same time every day, not having my meals be more than 4 hours apart, and not eating less than 2 hours apart. That's just a little guide that they give you. It has to do with not overpowering, overfilling the pouch at the top of my stomach above the band, and that's made all the difference in the world as well. So 3 meals a day, setting a time for them and staying consistent. That's something that I think all of us can do as we try to get a handle on what we're putting into us in the run of a day. The second thing is to eat slowly, and this is a really neat thing. This goes in hand with portion size, and as you know, portion size is generally what got me into trouble, because by the time I got to that supper every day, I would just shovel it in because I hadn't eaten all day. That's what I would do. Horrible, horrible habit. So some ideas that I got from the folks at the Surgical Weight Loss Center about how to control that. The first thing is to trick your mind, and I thought this was ridiculous when I read it, and I never thought I would actually do it, but these things matter. This is the equivalent of a bread plate. Pick this up at the grocery store, and it makes all the difference in the world. You put what I'm allowed to eat on this, and it does look like a full plate. Likewise for the bowl. And something really neat, again, I thought this was ridiculous when I read about it. Talked to some other people who had had the surgery, and I thought they were nuts. These are cocktail forks and a spoon. It has 3 prongs. This is a tiny spoon. Each bite that I take is supposed to only be about the size of the eraser at the end of a pencil. So, this controls that. If I use a regular fork, I'm going to put too much in. If I put too much in, I'm going to eat too quickly. Not only is that going to lead to problems with slippage and stuff, it's going to destroy the whole eating experience, where it's supposed to take 20 minutes. My cat's at the door. Come on in, come on in. So it has to take 20 minutes to eat your meal, and you're supposed to get 20 chews in to each bite. So I never did that before. So now that slows you down. It really does take me 20 minutes to half an hour now to eat a half a cup to 3/4 of a cup worth of food at a meal. So that's a really big change. But it's not just enough to do that. I mean, if you want to get that amount of food, you really need to change the way that you're cooking in the first place. And now the dog's here. I live in a zoo. So to change the way that you're cooking, it's meant a difference in things like the pans that you use. So I picked this up. I know it's for cupcakes. I don't use it for cupcakes. It holds 1 ounce at a time, which is perfect for making things like, I made turkey meatballs in this. There's all kinds of stuff that you can use to help with portion control. I've fallen in love with the kitchen scale. Probably won't do it forever, but it makes a big difference in terms of training your eye and your mind to get used to what you're measuring. So now I know things like that, full of turkey, ground turkey, is 1 ounce. You start to just find that stuff. But things like vegetables and all of that, I weigh all of that at this point because I'm so ignorant of how much anything actually is. And knowing the portion size was my problem before, I'm really conscious about staying accurate with it all. Also picked up this, which is an 8 mini loaf pan. Same thing, managed to make some mini meatloafs in this. Again, high protein. Following recipes that I found on some lapband websites and in a couple of post-op weight loss surgery books that I found. And those recipes are fantastic. And not having anything dry is really important. Everything I eat has to be moist. And these recipes find ways to highlight that. So, for example, I always made meatballs, meatloaf, and stuff like that with breadcrumbs. Switched over to oatmeal. They're bigger pieces. It holds some of the moisture into it, and it keeps it all in it, even if you have to reheat it. Although microwaving to reheat isn't ideal because it turns it a little, it changes the structure. It turns it a little rubbery. So I've been using, heating some stuff up on the stove and trying everything in the microwave to see what I can get away with and what I can't. And that's been a challenge with some of the food. A couple other things I bought. Everything is mini because it keeps it in mind. I bought an individual egg poacher. This thing is really neat. Poaches 1 egg at a time. I bought, but I've never used yet, a little saucepan. Same thing. I'm not going to get too many servings into that. And like a single serve frying pan, which is perfect for frying up some vegetables and stuff before you chuck them into an omelet or whatever. So I've invested in all of this stuff in an effort to really control that. But I've also invested in time. It's taken me a lot of time to put together meals that fit what I'm able to eat. So I want to show you some of those so you can get an idea of portion size. This is a mini meatloaf. This is 2 ounces of lean ground beef with some egg white and some rolled oats. And it's tasty. It's a great source of protein. And when I put it on my little plate, you know, that's the basis of a meal. And then I have this section here for vegetables, and if I want a little tiny section over here for starch. There's not too much starchy that I'm taking on at this point. There's not a lot that I can in the soft food stage, but there's just not a lot that I like. So my meals right now generally consist of a protein source like this, and then some vegetables, usually just frozen California mix. You're talking broccoli, cauliflower, you know, the little carrots, stuff like that. So that's the meatloaf. I've also done, these are the turkey balls that I told you about right here. You can see that all of these are from my freezer. I have everything pre-cooked, pre-portioned, and in there, and they still have a multitude of choice. This way I don't feel locked into a diet plan. Regardless of these bags that I draw, I'm getting a protein source that's good for me. It's the right size. These are all between 2 and 3 ounces of meat, and they all are, you know, within the diet requirement. Outside of portion size, it's about eating and drinking. I can't ever eat and drink at the same time again. I stop drinking about half an hour to 45 minutes before a meal. I don't drink through the meal, and then I don't drink for about 45 minutes after the meal. And the whole idea there is that I have this band so that it holds the food I've consumed above the band in this little pouch. And it only makes sense that if you're chugging water, right, and flushing it through, you're pushing all of that out of the upper band into your stomach, and the minute that that moves, you're losing that feeling of satisfaction, right? That's the whole reason that I've done this. It's completely self-defeating to do something like that, so following the guidelines laid out by the Surgical Weight Loss Center, not drinking water before, during, or immediately after a meal, and that has made a huge difference in how long I feel that sense of satiety, that sense of satisfaction that comes after a meal. And there's something really great that I'm slowly trying to drill into my head. I want to hang it on the fridge, actually, or at the kitchen table. And that's that it's not an effort to see how much you can eat to feel full. It's an effort to see how little you can eat to feel satisfied. And that's a whole different part of your brain that's listening while you're eating. And for me, that's meant following a lot of rules. Not doing other things when I eat. Sitting at the table, not in front of the television or the computer or the iPad. I'm not reading emails. I don't have a book in front of me. I'm not on the phone. If I'm eating, my entire brain is engaged in that activity. I'm focused on it. I know in that moment that I'm taking the right bites, that I'm feeling the sensation of every bite, and all of that adds up to a greater feeling of satisfaction with the whole meal. And for me, that has meant that I've gotten through this entire thing without feeling hungry. Still got cravings for, you know, some of the old habits and the old bad habits, but nothing that is worth more or weighs more in my mind than the benefit of how I feel now that I've made this change. Water is my best friend now. That's the next thing on the list. I always have to have it in my hand. I still have to get 6 to 8 cups of it in me a day. That's difficult when you can't, you know, stand by the water fountain at work and down a glass of it. I'm a sipper now. You know, I used to drink about 3 cupfuls, so that would be probably 6 cups, like 3 tall cups full just during the morning show, during the early show on the Eagle. And now that's down to 1. You know, over the course of 3 hours, I'm getting probably about 2.5 cups of water in me. So because I can't drink it the way I used to, but staying not dehydrated, it's incredibly important, it just means that I always have to have it on me now. When I'm home, I always have it on me. And then I touched on the last little key that I can offer you so far in what I've learned, and that is to keep track. You know, I keep talking about this website called MyFitnessPal. I was talking to my dietitian about it this week too, and she told me that the record of success for people who keep a journal of some kind, keep a journal of everything you eat, who you eat it with, how you feel when you eat it, and over time you'll start to see patterns. And the remarkable thing is, I can see them already, and I've only got, since March 7th, logged on MyFitnessPal. And you can visit, by the way, my entire food log. You can track it. Everything that I eat in the run of the day is put up there. You see the calorie count, you see the protein count, the carb count. You can get a little more specific about the actual diet that I'm on, the diet lifestyle that I've adapted, because this obviously isn't a diet in the sense of like the Atkins diet or the South Beach diet or anything like that. So I'll put that web address up and you can check that out. And I can't encourage you enough to sign up, become my friend. I'll put my username up on the screen as well. And, you know, we can track each other through this whole thing. I've added probably 60 or 70 people already. And it's really, really encouraging for them to comment on the stuff that I'm doing, for me to see what they're doing. There's already been some recipe swaps happening. MyFitnessPal.com. I can't urge you enough. Check it out. It provides a level of accountability that no person, I believe, can bring to themselves. You know, to have my closest friends, to have my closest family members see that and know that it's an honest effort. But that's the key, right? Don't lie on it. It serves no purpose. If it goes in your mouth, it goes into the system. You gotta track it or you're not gonna see the big picture when you go back to look. And I was able to go back to look even just through the puree stage of my diet. I was able to go back able to go back and see what was motivating some of the food choices I was making then. None of them were wrong. I stayed within the diet, but it was interesting to see what was going on in my day. Was it a stressful day at work? You know, was it a day that, you know, you're trying to get the bills paid? Was it a day where you were run off your feet and running around? How those situations can falsely make you believe that you're making a conscious choice to do something. Wrecker. You're making a choice to do something when in reality it's the situation that's choosing it. So if you change the situation, you'll change your choice, and that's been a really big revelation for me. So I've taken better control over my day. I've become a lot more selfish with my time, making the time for myself in the morning for breakfast, hollowing out that hour in my day, which has been difficult, so that I can have a solid lunch, closing my door at work or going out, you know, and eating the prepared meal, the whatever I took with me to work for that day. So the weight loss update, I suppose, we normally do it every week. I may as well keep it going. 72 pounds down now. I started at 460 and I'm down to 388 pounds and I feel absolutely fantastic. Still have momentum, still have the energy that it takes to get through this, and I'm still very much stealing that energy from you. So keep your comments coming, keep your stories coming. I want to know about where you are in all of this. So many of you are keeping me up to date about the weight that you've lost and the things that you're doing in your life for you and your family. I appreciate hearing those messages and getting those phone calls every week. Keep them coming. They mean the world to me. And I'll meet you back here again next Friday. What, Elmo? What? Here, come here. Come here. I think he wants to be on camera, so there. You're on. What do you want to say to them? What do you want to say to everybody? Now he's quiet.